Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Pop Punk Podcast featuring me, T-Will Official, my G-ass co-host, Mr. Daddy Mush, and today we have a special guest. This screen is not a mistake. This is the real screen for the episode. Let's go. We have Mr. Mario Corsaro, bassist for Win by 2 and guitarist for Acrolein. Say what's up, guys.
Up, man, I'm Ed, Daddy Mush, and sup.
Say what's up, Mario.
What's going on, T? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm very excited today. Had a little verbal hiccup right there. So, alright, so before we get started, this is something we like to do at the start of every episode. We like to talk about the music we've been listening to this week. So, first off, Mario, what music have you been listening to this week?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I mean, you mentioned Acrolein, we have an album coming out slated for next month, hopefully, if everything goes well. I actually just got back the final mix of the last track that we recorded, so that's actually what I've been listening to the most.
Nice.
As far as like my own personal collection of music, not too much this week, actually, to be honest with you. Just been busy working on my own stuff.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like I have some weeks where like I don't really listen to a whole lot of music. Maybe you just focused on other stuff, like I play lots of video games. So if I'm like going hype into like a story game, you can't like listen to music while you're like watching cutscenes and stuff. It just kind of takes you out of it. So like I have weeks like that where I don't listen to a whole lot of stuff. So I get you. And I also,
yeah, man, sorry, dude. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, like for me, like kind of going off what you're saying, like I just been kind of down this like YouTube rabbit hole this week, like following a lot of, like, I'm a big comic book nerd, so I've been following a lot of like, comic book stuff lately. But like I feel that like some days and for me, like I'm always looking for new music to listen to. So sometimes listening to the same things over and over just kind of gets kind of tiresome.
Oh, dude, no, I feel that. Because, like, I specifically made, like, an 800-song playlist so that, like, I wouldn't get bored of listening to the same, like, 50 songs over and over and over again. And I still get, like, bored of listening to those same 800 songs over and over again. So, kind of what I've been doing is I've been kind of going back to, like, making, like, daily playlists. Just putting, like, 50, 60 songs into a playlist together, listening to it that day, and then deleting it and making a new playlist the next day.
Hey man, whatever works. I will say there is one band recently that has like kind of caught my attention. I've been listening to them pretty frequently. Belmont. I don't know if you guys like them.
Oh yeah, I heard of Belmont.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool, man. They're like it's almost like pop punk with like math rock and like kind of like a little bit of a gentler atmosphere. It's cool. Like it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, I remember. I was Belmont was in my recommendeds on YouTube one week, and like I remember, I'll admit I was kind of judging a book by its cover for a little bit. I like wasn't turning it on because I remember like the whole like the thumbnail just looked like it was gonna be some like indie type music, and I really don't like indie. But then because they were just constantly in my recommendations, I finally I was like, all right, dude, I'll fucking listen to it. So I put it on. I remember it was actually like pretty good.
Yeah, it's like quite the opposite, I would say, from like indie music. It's definitely got like.
I know. I think there's like a little bit of easycore in there too, almost.
Yeah. I was gonna say easycore is actually a good way to describe it. I mean, it's almost like it's got some punch to it, but it's still like pretty pop punky in its core.
Yeah, I forget the name of the song I was listening to, but I do remember it was pretty good.
I think I saw that band live before, honestly.
Dude, I feel that, because I feel like I just see so many, like, when I go to, like, Warped Tour and stuff, like, I'm usually seeing, like, so many bands that I can't keep track of all the bands I've seen at Warped Tour. Like, I remember I saw the Somerset one year at Warped Tour, and they're an actually amazing neon pop band. But at the time, I only knew the song Chelsea by them. So I wanted to like sit there and watch, but I was like hoping that they would play Chelsea first so I could kind of like dip out and go see other bands. And they actually did play Chelsea first. So I was like hyped. So I listened to Chelsea, and then they started playing their second song, which I think, according to setlist.fm, I did actually go all the way back and look for that Warped Tour day. And according to Setlist FM, the next song they played was a song called Fuck You Over, which is now also in my giant 800 song playlist. That's also a really good song. But at the time I only wanted to hear Chelsea. So I was kind of like hyped that they played it first. Because like at Warped Tour, dude, like it's like very like gotta go. Because there's like 90 bands and they're all on like 5 different stages. So like sometimes 2 bands you want to see will be like right next to each other. You got to make like that hard decision. Like which band do I want to see? But anyway, yeah, so Ed, what have you been listening to this week, dude?
I mean, gotta admit, the music I really been listening to doesn't really change that drastically, like day to day or week from week, because, like, I guess just with life, I really only listen to music when I'm in the car or when I'm at work, because, so what I've been listening to is kind of the same stuff the last few weeks. I've been listening to, obviously, Just Surrender for the 5th week in a row.
Okay.
Captain Chunk, Census Fail, Simple Plan. I've been listening to Zebrahead and the Starlines when I'm in the car. That's what I've been listening to. No real differential, more of the same, to be honest. I pretty much listen to music until I get so burned out from that song, and I won't listen to it again for another like year.
Dude, I feel that. And that's kind of where I was getting with my playlist. That's why I made a giant 800 song playlist. And then it happened to that playlist, and now I just make daily playlists.
So what have you been listening to anyway, Mr. Will?
So my top 5 on my on repeat playlist is slightly different this week. So we got Answer the Phone by Sugar Ray, which is a wonderful song. Tell Me by Better Luck Next Time. Bloody Valentine by Machine Gun Kelly, which that's his pop punk song, which I like it a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Saddest Girl Story by The Starting Line, which was in there last week. And Self-Centered by Bowling for Soup. But it's actually kind of funny. Self-Centered is in my like on repeat playlist. But it's in my on repeat playlist because of a glitch on Spotify. So when I listen to Spotify, a lot of times I'll kind of like I'll put it on my phone, but then I'll set it to play through my Xbox. And a lot of times when you do that, like, it'll take songs that were in your queue from before. Like, even if you already played it and it's already out of your queue and it's playing the back to your playlist, sometimes if you sync it up to your Xbox, it'll just play, like, whatever was in your queue. And I remember one time I queued up Self-Centered, and then I played it, I listened to it, and then I moved on with my playlist. And then just for like the next 5 times that I synced that up to my Xbox, it kept getting in my queue even though I didn't add it. But that's not to take anything away from that song. It's probably one of my favorite Bowling for Soup songs.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been listening to this week. So Mr. Mario.
What's up,
So,
man? What do you got for me?
Like I said, so I know you're in 2 bands, Win by 2 and Acrolein, and they're like very different from each other. Like I know Win by 2 is pop punk, and then Acrolein's like almost deathcore, like a little bit of slam too.
Yeah, like you said, with Win by 2, it's definitely like a pop punk mixed with like an alternative kind of thing, and yeah, Acrolein really started out as a deathcore band. We were kind of trying to emulate that, like, early like Suicide Silence, Chelsea Grin type sound. And with the first EP, I feel like we kind of went in that direction. And then like now, like you said, it's got some more like hardcore elements in there too.
Yeah, which I'll say I do really enjoy hardcore music, so I can't wait to hear that. But yeah, I guess one thing I wanted to ask is like, because when you're in 2 radically different bands like that, like, what's it like when you write a song, right? Because, like, when
Honestly,
you're...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I'd say, honestly, it's pretty liberating creatively. I mean, think about it. I mean, anything you write, you can use. I mean, if I write something that's a little bit on the heavier side, I can put it away for a Crowley. And I mean, if I write something that's a little bit more, pop punk sounding or rock sounding, it's perfect for Win by 2. I save it for that band. I mean, it's almost like anything I use at that point serves a purpose somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty litty. So, like, do you just write a song and then, like, however the song ends up being, you send it to either Win by Two or Acrolein, or do you like set out to write like a Win by Two song, or do you maybe like set out to write an Acrolein song?
I mean, I would say it depends. I mean, both projects are different. Like with Acrolein, there's usually two or three of us at a time writing the core of the song, and then like Ant, our vocalist, will go in and write the lyrics, and we'll get all that together. With Win by Two, it's kind of been, especially with the new stuff we've been kind of working on now that our first EP's out, we've been writing some stuff that we're going to probably try to track in the fall and the winter. That's kind of been more like a writing by committee type deal, where like if I have a riff or an idea, I'll maybe record it on my phone or go to John's house and lay down a scratch track version of it, and then we'll all kind of collab on it, and vice versa. If he has something, or if Nick or Alex or Brian has something to work on, we'll all kind of work together and build songs that way.
Yeah, I get that, because that's how when I was writing music, that's what I would do. I would always, most of the time, I would write like the bass of the song per se, like not like the bass guitar too, but like I'd go in the
Yeah, like
Right,
BASE.
yeah, like the bass of it. I'd make
Yeah.
the chorus, I'd write the verse, I'd pretty much write like kind of like the rhythm section of the song, and then I would just pass it on to the guitar player so they can add whatever they wanted. It was more like I was the bread of the sandwich, and I kind of let everybody else put the toppings on that sandwich, and that's how the songs would really be
and,
written when I would do things.
and it's cool. Like in both bands, like everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses. Like one of us might be better at writing a hook. One of us might be better at writing lyrics. One of us might be better at writing like, if there's like a breakdown section or something like that. Like we all kind of contribute, and it's cool. Like it really, the creative process is like so, like I said, so different in each band, and like it's actually made me as a musician better.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. Cause yeah, it's kind of like it's like two different ways of doing it, and like, do you think you might? Do you think you maybe like apply? Do you think you might apply like the Win by Two way of doing things to Acrolein, or vice versa? Like with the whole.
I definitely, we try to. I mean, there are times where we'll get together and we'll get in a rehearsal space and we'll try to jam some ideas, or one of us will have an idea and come to the table with it, and we'll all kind of try to piece something together off of that. But we try to. But lately, I mean, especially with this album that's coming out next month, it's generally most of the tracks were, two, three guys at a time kind of piecing the songs together.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And once again, I'm real excited to hear that, because as you know, like I pop punk, it's my favorite. I love pop punk, but I do also get down to hardcore quite a bit. Like I do really like All That Remains, As I Lay Dying, Kill Switch Engage. Like those are some of my favorites. I know Ed, they're not hardcore, but just like more on the metal side of things. And I know Ed is gonna judge me hard on this one, but I do also really like Nine Inch Nails. Again, I know they're not hardcore, but like just talking about like some of like the bands that I like that aren't pop punk, and then obviously, as I said before, I really do enjoy hair metal too, like like the old '80s stuff, like Def Leppard.
Man.
Def Leppard is one of my favorites. I also really like.
Speaking of Def Leppard, like I'm looking at my pop collection. Like I'm just missing Joe Elliott. Like I have the whole collection.
And yeah, it's actually, I think I remember reading on Instagram, it was actually his birthday a couple days ago.
Yeah, I just got to get his pop, then I have the whole Def Leppard collection.
That's
hype. I'm with you with that. I'm with you with that though, man. Like '80s, like I kind of like, for me, like I mean, growing up with my parents, that being their forte, '80s, '90s, rock, metal,
Mm-hmm.
70s stuff, like having that, and then growing up and listening to like the the '90s and 2000s and like skate punk and pop punk, and then getting into like more like metalcore and hardcore and stuff like that. Definitely pretty well rounded, and like it's cool that like other people share that same sentiment about '80s stuff, because it's not I know it gets shit on a lot, but it's some fun stuff.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say the same thing. I feel like a lot of people in the scene think it's like, it's like uncool to like hair metal. And I mean, maybe it is, but you know what, dude? That's the type of music where it's like, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to act like it's not, but it's so ridiculous that it like loops back around into being awesome.
it's just fun. Like, I mean, I can go with you guys to a pop punk show, or you know, some of my other friends to like a hardcore show in a basement, and then I can go with my dad to like go see, Rat or Motley Crue and like have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I saw yeah, Def Leppard with my uncle because I remember his favorite band is Poison. So it was like the best of both worlds. Yo, he got to see Poison, who he really loves. I got to see Def Leppard, with who I really.
That's about as 80s as it gets, man.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and like yeah, just with that, like I really like metal. I do. I also really enjoy. I really enjoy like, I guess for lack of a better word, like party rap, like stuff like Lil Jon 303. Stuff that you can hear like with your speakers like cranked in the car, right? And you got the windows rolled down, you're blasting, you're being obnoxious as hell to your neighbors.
I haven't heard the name Lil Jon in a long time, man. Yeah, I used to love all that stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
Mafia, all those bands, or all those rappers back in like the 2000s.
Yeah, I remember. This past week I was just taking a little trip down memory lane, going through my old like year-end Spotify playlist, right? Like like your top songs, like 2017, 18, 19. And I remember in 2018, there is so much Lil Jon in the playlist because like that's when I first got Spotify Premium. And when I first got Spotify Premium, I went like I was listening to music like 24/7 because like now I don't have to worry about ads. And that's what I was listening to when I got on Spotify Premium was Lil Jon. So I was listening to so much Lil Jon, like I would probably listen to the song "Stop Fucking With Me." I probably listen to that about like 8 times a day, and that's like a 6-minute song too. And it's funny. There's like so much Lil Jon in my 2018 year-end playlist, and it's funny too because it's just like it's such a contrast. Like you'll have like like Blink-182, Better Luck Next Time, all them people, Starting Line, and then you got like Lil Jon.
And that's the fun part about music in 2020. Like it's so accessible. I mean, you can, and now with all these like artists crossing genres, I mean, you can. There's like, guys like Travis Barker doing all kinds of genres, not just pop punk. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Kelly, like you mentioned earlier. Like,
yeah.
And with stuff being so accessible with streaming and like now everything's so content driven and, everything's digital and online, like it's right there. I mean, I'm listening to stuff now that when I was 15, 16, 17, I probably would have never, I would have probably like laughed at it or scoffed at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like the crossing of the genres because like that's exactly how I was with like emo rap, dude. Like I was a hater at first. I was like, dude, fucking sad rap. That's not what I like about rap. I want my rap to be fun. I want my rap to be like blasting at a party. I don't want to vibe out to some sad music. But like, I don't know. The more I listen to it, dude, it's like rap mixed with like pop punk and emo music. Like some of the emo rappers that I listen to, like I listen to this one guy, his name's Lil Lotus, and his music is honestly just pop punk over like a hip hop beat instead of like power chords and like drums.
That's a good point because like I know even with Win by 2, like we didn't really do anything with it, but like we were actually working on like a Lil Peep cover. John had brought a song to us that he wanted to cover by Lil Peep, and I actually, we jammed it a couple times, laid down the tracks. I don't know if anything's gonna come of it, but yeah, I mean, it's basically like I was the same way at first, where I was kind of like, I mean, I'm not the best person to ask about rap because most of the stuff I'm listening to is still like Wu-Tang and like that kind of like I'm so out of touch with today's rap, but like listening to that kind of stuff now, like the emo rap, it's like I get it now. Like you're right, like it's almost like it's this generation's pop punk. Like we had like Blink and all those bands back then, and these kids growing up now kind of have this stuff.
Yeah, they have like Lil Peep, Juice WRLD, all stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's totally crazy because like you said, like dude, I'm surprised there isn't more pop punk covers of emo rap songs because like all you really have to do is just change like the hip hop beat, right? Turn that into like like actual drums, throw some power chords over. You can keep the vocal melodies exactly the same, and then boom, you got yourself a pop punk song or like a like a mid 2000s mall emo song.
Yeah, man, bring back Punk Goes Pop. That's you heard it here first.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because that's just something. I know I talked about that before on the podcast, but that's something like I can always admit when I was wrong. And with emo rap, I was so wrong because I was such a hater at first. I was like, dude, no. But
I'm with you, man.
now I'm
with
like,
you.
dude, yes, fucking yes.
Yeah, I definitely get it more now. Like I said, I definitely understand it more.
I mean, I just really enjoy it mostly for the sad Bart Simpson edits. I mean, those are stuff that I crave.
The fucking sad Bart Simpson. I know. I love those. Those are freaking funny.
Oh, I know. My nephews used to post those unironically with some X going on in the background of Bart Simpson just kind of on his bed crying with a couple poorly imposed tattoos on him.
But you know what? Yo, you joke about that, but that's actually kind of how I heard Bloody Valentine by MGK. Is I heard it was like, in like a sad Bart Simpson edit. And I'm like listening to it and I'm like, yo, this just straight up sounds like pop punk. Like, what is this? So I look it up and yeah, it was MGK. I'm like, this is MGK? Because like I used to bump out to a little bit of MGK when I was like 17. And like his stuff was just like straight up rap. Like there was nothing like alternative or like emo about it. Like it was just straight up rap. But then him and Travis Barker got to collabing, and I remember they did a Misery Business cover, which I still have to hear. I still haven't heard that one yet.
I heard that one, yeah.
And then they just made that Bloody Valentine song, and from what I'm understanding, they're doing a whole album together. So I'm kind of hype about that.
I actually saw MGK at the Tower Theater back in 2014. I saw him with Limp Bizkit. What a crazy lineup that was.
Yo.
What a hell of an interesting show that is, man.
Oh, dude, I can imagine.
It was fun, though. It was really fun. Like, he came out in a Guy Fawkes mask, like, and like, yeah, it was just bizarre, but like, I loved it. I was this guy's got some serious like stage presence.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. It's fun.
Yeah, and dude, he's actually a pretty good actor too.
Yeah.
I remember he was Tommy Lee in the Motley Crue movie, and then he was in this other Pete Davidson movie I saw, Big Time Adolescence. He was like one of Pete Davidson's like burnout friends in the movie, and he was actually pretty good in both of those movies. But yeah, no, dude, MGK is incredible. And like what you said with Limp Bizkit, like that's kind of funny because I think nu metal is another genre. I kind of get the same like feeling of that I get like with hair metal, where like it's absolutely ridiculous.
But it's so fun.
But
I'm the same way, man.
It's
like
so ridiculous that it loops back into awesome. Like Power Man 5000 is legitimately in a couple of my year-end playlists on Spotify.
They're fun.
I'm still listening. I still listen to Korn on the regular. I'm still listening. I'm with you, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny, right? Because like I can't really call them guilty pleasures because it's not stuff I'm like ashamed about, but it's just stuff where it's just so ridiculous and like fun that I'm like, yo, I'm kind of like actually like bumping out to this.
So, since you're a fellow bass player, Mr. Mario, what do you think of the Korn bass tone that they have?
Dude, that's actually I love it because like it's so that clicky kind of sound. It's like I personally love it. I don't know how you feel about it. I just it even live. Like I mean, I've seen them probably 4 or 5 times at this point. And it just same thing live. Like it just translates so well. And it's like that real like overdriven kind of sludgy sound. I like that. Like that's cool.
Yeah, does he even have like mids on his amp when he's smacking that bass string?
I remember, my favorite. We were watching. I'm 100% sure this is why he asked you, is because we were watching a video on YouTube. It was a Korn song, but it was only the bass track. And it's just him bass like a ding, 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 ding. And like the top comment was, he calls himself a percussive bassist. Does it mean it's because he's punching the shit out of his strings?
Yeah, man. That's where like that, like I said, like that clicky kind of sound comes in, and like it's so unique to their sound, and it's just like it's cool. Like I don't know, I like it. Like
yeah.
I know I know even for my tone, like I just bought a new bass amp for Win by Two, and I've been, fiddling with that a little bit, and like I have this like really nice like overdriven kind of sound that I like, and it really cuts through the mix really well.
What is
Eh,
your general setup for bass anyway, if you don't mind me asking?
My general set, you mean it's like my gear?
Yeah, your gear, what you use, or
So
yeah.
right now I'm using two. Well, because we have two. So each of us have two guitars because we play in different tunings. I'm using an Ibanez bass for the drop tuning songs. For the standard tuning songs, I've been using a Squire P bass. I have a Fender Rumble amp. Just playing straight through to that. And again, that has like a little overdrive channel on it. And I've been fiddling with my tone. I mean, I've only had it for about a week or so now, so I've been kind of fiddling with that. Before I had this kind of like, little beater type crate solid state amp, but
Very nice.
that's starting to go a little bit. So I had to upgrade.
Yeah, especially if that's like your main instrument per se, you know what I mean? In that group, you have to
Yeah,
have good gear.
and
I think
I gotta say, man, for a 25-watt amp, the Fender Rumble, this thing's powerful. Like, I mean, I'm playing it in rehearsals. I'm practicing at not even a quarter volume, and it's like it's full sounding.
nice, man, nice. I got an Ampeg Micro for my amp, an Ampeg Mini Stack. The two basses I primarily use, I use a Fender made in Japan, a jazz bass from
Nice.
'89,
That's
off
sweet.
Craigslist.
Yeah, man, can't go wrong. Like
Yeah,
that's actually how I got the Squire from like Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace.
yeah,
Like
I'm not gonna,
sometimes those ways, they're the best ways to find gear.
especially good Japanese jazz bass. I think the Fender Japanese, and this is before I became a weeb. Anybody, I do think the Japanese Fenders are the best sounding Fenders out there, personally.
yeah, I remember. I think our last show you used the jazz bass, right?
Well, of course, yeah, because and the other bass I use is I love it, but I don't like bring it out in public anymore because if you heard the podcast a few weeks ago, I used the Mark Hoppus signature P bass, and
Oh,
how
nice.
Blink 182 became. I don't even want to be associated with that act. But that's if you want to hear that rant, you can find it on YouTube.
Yes, that would be episode 3. Hey, I just use a first act like starter bass, cause like I play. I don't consider myself a bassist, but I do play bass. I remember a while back, me and Mario were jamming, and I was
We
playing
were.
bass. But I think that was the last time I.
We what do we do? We did some cover songs, and we did like Kill Switch Engage. I think we did a Def Leppard cover too.
Oh yeah. No, I was talking about the little like pop punk thing me and you did,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We did that. That was, oh my god, yeah, that's right. That was pretty brief, but yeah, we
yeah,
did covers in that too. I think we did like Damn It and
yeah. I remember we did Josie.
Josie. Yeah, we did a couple like old Blink covers and stuff. That was fun. That was a shame nothing came of that really.
Yeah, and well, it's sometimes it's just tough to find like a full band. I get
Yeah,
it because
man.
I remember it was like literally just me and you.
Yeah, it just came down to like not finding a drummer and just everybody's schedule is just not really working out at the time. But yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
that's the hardest part about being in a band is just being on the same page as everybody, and the hardest part is just finding the people, especially drummers. That's why I pamper them to no end.
I know, yeah, because that's kind of where we're at now with
especially as a bass player, you got to treat them right, man. You're the whole rhythm section.
I don't know about that guy. I mean, I originally just started playing bass in middle school because, this is when you're 14 years old and you're the only bass player in the entire middle school and you're the one
You're
of
the
two
hot
bass players in
commodity.
the whole high school that nobody can kick you out. Nobody can.
Yeah,
You're,
you're
you're
untouchable.
indispensable 'cause it's not like now where it's like if you're a guitar player, all you really gotta do is just find a good budget bass and then you're the bass player of the band. You know what I mean? Kind of like what you did.
That's yeah. So that's me in a nutshell, right there. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's
when
like
we're 15, 14,
you have
you may be
diplomatic
better at
immunity in
bass,
the band.
Mario, but my parents bought me the bass amp, so I'm the bass player, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's very true.
exactly.
Yeah,
Make them executive decisions because you're untouchable.
Yeah,
that's why the drummers, I pamper them because I need them more than they need me.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's pretty much where we're at now. Is just like like you said, like with Knockout Kings. At the time, we were called Storyline.
And previously Ledger.
Yeah, and then
Before
previously
legal.
Ledger. Just we weren't like me and you were on the same page, but the rest of the band wasn't necessarily on the same page, and then they ended up leaving, and now it's only me and you. And
But drummers are hard.
Yeah, no, drummers are very hard to find. I agree.
Two drummers die, and that's 30 bands out of the scene out of commission.
Yeah, I love that. That's probably one of my favorite like memes that I've seen online about like
I know.
But I gotta say, I am pretty lucky to be in two projects that have two amazing drummers like Justin and Acrolein, really really technically proficient drummer, and John, same thing with Win by Two. Like he's, both these guys are amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's drummers, dude, drumming takes a lot of work. Because I remember, a little fun fact about me is I was technically the first drummer in Ledger. It didn't last very long, but drumming is.
You still have that drum kit in your basement? I remember you had that drum kit, a little piece, that little like a 3 or 4 piece kit.
I do have it. It's not in the basement anymore because I have moved since then, but it's in the garage. I do still have it, and that cymbal is more cracked now than it was back then.
Hey man, it's as long as it still hits, right?
Yeah, it still hits, 100%. I mean, I haven't used it in like 2 years, but yeah, it still hits. But drumming is absolutely difficult. I feel like it's actually like the most important part, because if you don't have the drummer keeping beat, or if you have like a shitty drummer that can't keep beat, like you're gonna sound terrible live. Like you could touch it up on recordings, but like live, you're gonna just sound awful.
Having a great drummer is really important because, like, I mean, they're holding, like you said, they're holding down the song. I mean,
yeah,
you can,
They changed the whole tempo of the song. A drummer goes a little fast, everybody else speeds up, he slows down, everybody else slows down a bit. It's
exactly, yeah.
It's subconsciously too. You're not even thinking about it. You just kind of go with their flow.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, while we're talking about bands and stuff, Mario, I do have a question for you. Do you have any like fun, wild stories from being in like either band, Win by Two or Acrolein, or like any other band you've ever been in?
Fun and wild. Let's see. Well, I mean, with Win by Two, I mean, I've been in the band probably, I would say, like 8 or 10 months at this point. So, I mean, and obviously with COVID, we haven't, we've been kind of doing more behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
But nothing too wild and crazy there. Acrolein, I mean, we've been a band for 2 years now. So, actually, this month will be 2 years. And early on, I mean, we were a party band for a bit. Our first 2 shows were actually down the shore, and my grandparents have a house in Ocean City.
Ooh.
And we played one show at the Watering Hole in Mays Landing, and we played another show in Atlantic City at this little dive bar place called Proud Mary's. That was actually the first show, and then we played the Watering Hole the next day. So I would say, as far as like, nothing too crazy, but like we had a good time down there. We were partying it up that weekend. That was a fun. Like having a weekender as our first 2 gigs was like, that was awesome.
I bet that sounds like it was wild.
Yeah, man. Like it was a good time. A lot of definitely the next gig, the next day, having a low gear and 90 degrees, sweating out, Jack Daniels was rough.
Yeah, no, that's the worst. Because I will say, like, dude, when you're playing a show, you get all like hot and sweaty. Like this is gonna happen. You're jumping around, playing music, like all the intensity and everything, like you're gonna get hot. So like I feel like my favorite shows to play are shows in the winter, because then you could just go outside and enjoy some nice cool air.
That is true.
In the summer,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, in the summer you don't really get that, because you go outside and then it's just as hot outside as you're feeling inside.
Yeah. I know a lot of the shows, like we played a bunch at Champs in Trenton, and a lot of those are like wintertime shows where, like you said, I mean, you go into the venue, you're hot and sweaty, and you come outside, you get to cool off, hang out up front. But yeah, I mean, I remember that first weekend it was about, like I said, it was about 90 degrees and hot and humid, and I was just I felt the liquor pouring out of my out of my system when I was playing that set. That was rough.
Yeah, dude, I could imagine.
I don't really like playing shows under any sort of influence. It's just not fun to me.
Yeah,
To each his own for sure. I mean, I can't say. I mean, I could definitely say I've played a few shows where I've been, for lack of a better terms, a little under the
Inebriated.
influence, but yeah, a little loose. But I try not to generally go too crazy either, just because then you get to a certain point where you start, it starts affecting you, and you don't want that.
Yeah, that happened to the original Inception of Ledger once, and I thought to myself, never again, because that was god awful.
oh yeah, I think I remember a little bit of that story. Didn't you say at one point he pulled down his pants and was just greeting
That was
everybody in his
that was
boxers?
that was the show after that. That was the final show with that lineup.
Oh
Oh,
man.
okay.
This was the third to last show I believe we had. It was at the place in Washington Township on the Black Horse Pike behind the Arby's. It's a little like coffee shop place,
Okay.
and it was just awful. Like everybody was just smashed, dude. We were trying to play Dumpweed. We were just like skipping verses and choruses and stuff. We just had to cut the song. It was terrible, man. I was like, we were
sounded
missing up
like
words.
sound like fucking 2009 Tom.
Yeah, but at least he was actually attempting the part. We just straight up just skipped everything. It was terrible, man. I thought to myself, never again. I mean, this is like I forgot how to play Dumpweed. I'm like, how can I play? It's three notes over and over. I'm out here like, yeah, but that was terrible. But yeah, I definitely think the early inception of Ledger was a true like just like one giant party. Like there was zero concern of sounding good. Like I was like jumping off my amp onto like I at Champs Bar. I think I put a hole in the ceiling honestly at Champs Bar. Because I went on my bass amp and it was like right before like the breakdown of the song Horse Crank, and I jumped off and like I threw my bass up and like the head just like punched a hole in the ceiling and like I didn't care at all. I was like shirtless.
Little fun fact about Horse Crank. Horse Crank was my sole writing credit in the original inception of Ledger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That was but that was the before the that it was just one giant party. There was zero regard of sounding good. There was zero regard of. I thought to myself, I'm like, well, we stink already, so we might as well be memorable for other reasons.
If you can't be memorable off your content, be memorable for your antics.
I kind of like Limp Bizkit at Woodstock '99.
Fucking yeah, ain't nobody gonna talk about how much of a great vocalist Fred Durst is. Well, they'll talk about tearing them walls down.
Exactly. He's a showman.
He's a
That was my thing.
visionary.
That was my thing. Is like I'm not a musician. I'm an entertainer. That was always my mindset when I would play shows. Is that like since I'm the bass player, I feel like my responsibility for at least for a pop punk band is to kind of be the hype man of the group. To be the one jumping around, be the one that's stomping, being the one that's going nuts. Because like it's pop punk. If I was in a funk band or a Seinfeld theme song cover band, then I'd be the most important guy. But like I just wanted to be a showman first and foremost. That's kind of my philosophy towards anything I really did. Like when I played tennis, it was community college tennis. So I mean, I'm not gonna go pro off of this. I was thinking, well, I might as well be fun out there.
That makes sense. I remember I was watching the video of our like first set of like the second lineup.
Exception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it was funny because I remember you were jumping around for a little bit, and then the strap came off, and you're like, "Oh shit!"
And then I started saying some more. Then I started getting mad, saying this is why you don't buy. I was saying a whole bunch of crap. I'm angry.
Yeah, you said some things you don't mean. But yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, it's like I don't remember anything like super duper crazy. I do remember our second show. We were playing some bar in
Barrington.
yeah, some bar in Barrington, and it was a total like biker bar. Like everybody that was there was metalheads. Like I think we brought the average age of the bar down by about like 10 years. So anyway, like I mean, they weren't like a bad crowd or anything. Like they were kind of feeling the music. Like it's not really their thing, but they were okay with it. But then I remember when we covered "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift, we turned the rap part of the song into a breakdown. So there was like chugs, there was screaming. All I remember was looking up while I was like singing my part of the breakdown. I just remember some dude with super long hair rocking the fuck out. Like he was headbanging and his hair was flopping everywhere. That was like I said, yeah, it wasn't super wild or super crazy, but it was something that I remember that was kind of funny. And I also remember after our third and so far final show, I do remember after the set we were talking to some people, and at that show we covered Josie by Blink-182. And I remember like I was hyping up the crowd. I was like, "Yeah, this next song's by Blink." And I remember we were talking to them after the show, and we were like, "Yo, we are so happy that you didn't play Damn It."
Trust me, I have pride.
I was like, "Shit, yeah." So I remember that too.
Man, I was just more mad that since band before us went over that we didn't get to do the U Vandal.
Oh, dude, I know. I was just about to say that because yeah, we wanted to cover U Vandal by Saves the Day. But I remember like before we started our last original, the guy comes up and he motions me for like this is the last song. And I remember I was very upset about that because I was gonna do that thing where like while Ant was playing the guitar part, I was gonna say like we got one more song for you, blah blah blah. If you know the song, sing along. But I'm sure most people probably wouldn't know that because it's kind of a deep cut. But nonetheless, just to get everybody hype, I was gonna like shout over the guitar thing before we started singing, and I'm a little upset that that didn't happen. Yeah.
I know, me too.
But yeah, like I said, like if it was our own fault, like if we spent too much time talking, that'd be whatever. But it was like no fault of our own. Like the band before us went on late, and then they only played a couple songs, but their couple songs cut into our time. I was a little upset about that.
I feel like we got a good shafting per se.
Yeah, we did.
No lube either. They're rushing us on stage. Like I barely had time to tune my bass and stuff like that, or like do a quick little sound check. Like it was just all like, okay, get on and start playing. I'm like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, like yo, bro, chill. You can't rush perfection.
Exactly, and you made us lose out on U Vandal. I mean, that's a song that it's the real ones going crazy because it would get me crazy. I would punch a small child if I heard that live.
Oh God, Ed.
No cap.
No cap. I remember it, dude. I remember at our second show, one of the freaking bartenders was hype. We were talking about like, yeah, we're gonna cover this next one's called like "You Vandalist" by Saves the Day. I remember looking up and the bartender, he was like smiling. He's like, yes.
Yeah, I think "You Vandal" is kind of like the definitely their biggest non-single.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That's always play like live. That's always a song they play, even though it wasn't a single per se. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. It's kind of like
always better off dead.
Yeah, it's something that they play. People get hyped, but it's not like a single, but it's still kind of popular.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I do also really like their I guess big hit "Shoulder to the Wheel."
Oh yeah, that song is great. I would say their biggest hit though. I mean, we're going deep into a Save the Day rabbit hole, so my bad. But I think their biggest is probably "At Your Funeral" because they play that on Craig Kilborn, I think.
That makes sense. I remember Zebrahead also played on Craig Kilborn.
And Justin thought he was still in the Playboy Mansion during that live performance because he was all dressed up in like a red velvet maroon suit or something like that.
Oh, I know. And in the thumbnail, it looked like Patrick Warburton, dude. It was funny.
That band is something else.
Something else, but yeah, I love them up until they went thrash metal.
Yeah, but so Mr. Mary, I have a quick question about, I guess, I mean, this is the first time I'm talking to you, but from the stories I hear, it seems like your big thing is you love metal and like hardcore music more than anything else. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I would say so. I mean, yes and no, because like I would say like pop punk and skate punk's definitely the other like half of my music taste. But I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I guess gun to my head, I would definitely say metal and like hardcore is probably more my thing.
So, I mean, we already kind of touched on this earlier, so this question's going to kind of be repetitive, but like a certain mood you get in when you want to write like a pop punk song versus like a hardcore song? Is it just like whatever you're feeling that day or whatever comes natural, or is it like if you're feeling happy or upbeat, you write a pop punk song instead?
It's funny because like like you would think I would look at it that way, but it's almost like I just kind of like I'm like, all right, like for like I have different things for when I'm like doing different like so if I'm like in the car and I'm driving, I'll listen to like a pop punk song. If I'm, you know, like if I'm like home and I'm like, you know, cleaning my bathroom or cleaning my kitchen or something, like I'll have like a whole like real heavy album on. And I'll just kind of let that play through. Like it's weird. Um, so it's kind of like because like both of them kind of make me happy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, for sure.
both genres kind of really mean a lot to me, and like so it translates with the writing where it's like I mean, lately it's kind of been more so like which projects, you know, needs writing at the time. But if I'm like writing just for myself or if I'm just trying to stash ideas for like later releases down the line, yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes I'm in a different mood for one or the other. There's times where I'll get in these kind of like rhythms where like I'll, you know, maybe for the last few weeks I've been writing pop punk riffs. So let me put this down. Let me pick up my 7 or 8 string and write some heavier stuff. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
guess my
So yeah.
next question would be if like we kind of touched about like the writing styles, like how you do things, but like do you ever find yourself like the genres kind of bleeding into one another times? Like, do you find when you're writing hardcore death metal music to kind of be a bit more less heavier, and do you find your pop punk stuff being a bit more heavier? Like, do the genres ever bleed for you, or is it pretty? You kind of keep them divided.
Um. I would say my personal writing. Sometimes that'll happen. Like I'll write a song. I'll work on a pop punk riff that'll be kind of more in the vein of like a 4 Year Strong type of riff, where it's a little bit heavier, or like an
Hmm.
Old Day to Remember type riff.
Yeah.
Um, and then that does happen. I mean, coming into Win by Two, I kind of like. So when I joined the band, most of the EP that we just released was already written. Um, so I kind of was able to get a gist of what they're looking for, stylistically. Um, and while a lot of it's more on just like the pop punk side, there are some we are, and even some of the stuff we've been writing together now that we've all been a band for a while. Um, you know, with this current lineup, so there's some of that in there for sure. I know John definitely likes some of those like chunkier riffs. Um, so me and him will get together, and he knows that I have a metal background, and sometimes me and him will collab on some ideas that get a little heavier. I would say more so though for with writing with Acrolein, I'm kind of able to shut that off just because I know like that's not really what that band's looking for.
Well, yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of able to take it and kind of shut that off just because like I know that's that direction that band's actually kind of even progressively getting heavier. So like more and more I kind of like I'm able to separate the two for that band.
Okay, well that's interesting. I was just wondering.
And I was actually about to say, like with metal and like pop punk and bleeding together, I actually think like having metal guys in a pop punk band, I actually think is a really solid idea because you got to think like metal guys like metal does definitely take a lot more like
Technical skill.
skill than pop punk. So like having like metal guys in the band I think is cool because they can play like a lot of the more like crazier riffs. And then like if you want to do like something kind of easy core, right? That it's almost like like what Mario was talking about with you know, like sometimes you throw a little bit of like that metal influence in there, and then boom, you kind of got an easy core song almost.
Yeah, or like Rufia. I mean, they be shredding.
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of like the big pop punk bands from back in the day, like a lot of them were
Yeah,
metal
Sum
guys.
41 was like that.
Yeah,
Those guys are metal guys.
yeah, like I know
Um,
Brown sounds like a huge metal guy.
Yeah, I know like Alistair. I mean, they weren't as big. I mean, they're huge in Japan because of Scott Murphy. But I know like the singer like Tim Rogner and the other guys like their favorite bands were like they loved hair metal like Quiet Riot and like Judas Priest and stuff like that. Like they were like that was their favorite like musicians growing up,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
and I remember Suburban Legends, the ska band. Their
Hmm.
one of their original drummers was the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold.
Really now, how about that?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, like a lot of those bands from back then that have metal guys, and I think it's a actually really good idea,
Yeah,
cause
that's a big asset.
yeah, absolutely.
The equivalent of having like a funk or a jazz bass player in a pop punk band. They could do some real cool noodling on the bass. You know what I mean? For some real groovy riffs.
Yeah, and oh, that's actually another thing I wanted to talk about today, because I remember like when me and you were talking, Mario, just like you know, like just talking like through text and everything, and
right.
you mentioned that you played bass in Win by Two. I remember I was saying like with bass and pop punk, that's got to be like really cool because like on the one hand, like there's not as much pressure, right, as like playing guitar. But on the other hand, like pop punk isn't the type of genre where the bass is just completely turned down. So
Yeah,
like
it's pretty prevalent actually. Like,
yeah, so like you can
um,
hear like a lot of songs definitely just have like bass
Bass and
parts
drums.
where it's
Yeah.
just bass and drums, yeah, and then a lot of songs like I know a lot of Blink 182, like they have the bass, you can very clearly hear the bass. Um
yeah, and like it's funny because it's like a really cool change of pace. Like, you know, I find that like with Acrolein, like I got really good at playing technical. Like you said, from being a metal player, you're very technical, and it's a lot of fast playing. It's a lot of Um, but then with Win by Two, and especially being the bassist, it was a cool change of pace because it really taught me like songwriting, like really good songwriting and really catchy songwriting, and like and yeah, like we're working on some stuff now that's a little more punky than the stuff we just put out, and like there's some cool like driving bass and like um like you said with Blink, like we cover Anthem Part Two, we cover Man Overboard, so like
well, that's
yeah,
funny. We
like
covered
there's
Anthem
a lot
Part
of
1.
cool. Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, so there's a lot of cool bass lines in that, and it's cool because it's like I kind of get to shine a little bit. It's fun. Like it's really
Hmm.
different for me. Where especially with my guitar playing, being that I'm definitely way more of a rhythm guitarist than the lead guitarist, just based on my technical abilities. Um, it's cool because it gives me a moment to kind of shine. Where normally in metal, I'm more kind of like filling out the rhythm section with the guitar.
Right. Now, my question, and I'm not trying to ask which band you prefer, but just strictly guitar versus bass. Which do you like doing better?
Oh man, wow! Actually haven't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Um, damn. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was 13, so I'd be lying to you guys if I said I didn't love playing guitar.
Right.
Um, and I mean, a lot of the pop punk stuff that I'm playing, even with Win by Two on bass, like I know some of those songs on guitar, and like I've been playing that stuff for years. So like, I mean, definitely still guitar, but I will say I've really grown like very very fond of playing bass, and I'm having a fuck ton of fun with it, man. Like it's really cool. Like I've been watching myself over the past year kind of go from a guitar player kind of fudging it and just picking up a bass because you know how to play a guitar to actually really studying and learning the bass and actually writing bass lines and actually like learning how to actually keep rhythm and like all these like things that like actual bassists do, and it's been fun. Like it's like a new challenge, and like it's kind of even made me push myself in guitar, which I like too. Like it's really given me like a reason to like go back and really study music and like really push myself.
Yeah, 'cause I guess it kind of gives you like a better understanding of songs, right? Because now now I'm sure like when you listen to like just music that isn't your own, right? You just like listen to stuff on Spotify. You can kind of like look out for the bass now and be like, oh yeah, the bass sounds really cool in this song.
Yeah, man, and I mean, I've always liked a lot of different styles. Like I've always liked jazz and funk music too, and now I go bass and listen. I'm like, wow, these bass lines are amazing. These guys are incredible bass players, and even writing, you know, before when when you're in a guitarist mindset, it's like, all right, well, especially when you're if you're writing and you don't really either don't know anybody that's a bass player or your band doesn't have one yet or whatever, you just go, okay, well, the bass line is just going to follow the guitar. We'll just slap that together real quick. Some guys will go and record bass lines just because they don't have a bassist yet in the studio. They'll go in and do it. But it's cool. Like it really made me sit and go no, to make this song's good, but to make it great, why don't we have the bass do something different and accenting the guitars rather than just kind of following them and doing the same thing they're doing.
Yeah, and I noticed too, like a lot of pop punk bands, they do that. Like if you listen closely, like you'll always have your songs where they're just kind of following along the guitar,
Sure,
just
yeah,
playing like the root notes.
absolutely. And a lot of times songs call for that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say like one style is better over the other. I'm just saying like if you listen and pay attention, a lot of pop punk songs, yeah, the bass will kind of be like not necessarily doing its own thing, but it'll spice it up a little bit with some like different notes that you're not hearing the guitar play.
Yeah, or even if it's just like a variation of the part that the guitarists are playing. It's just something that adds to it. It just makes it a little more dynamic, gives it a little more layer, a little more substance.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. I just want to say real quick because I remember Ed telling me when he was learning U Vandal for our one set because we had to do a set. This is when we started playing U Vandal. We had to do like half covers, and we were throwing U Vandal in the set. I remember Ed telling me like, "Yo, the fucking bass is insane in this song."
It's actually funny that you just brought that up because what I was literally about to say was if you want to see like a pop punk band that has like some like good kind of moving around bass that's doing a lot. I was gonna say the Saves the Day albums with Iban D'Amico on the bass or Eben D'Amico on the bass, which is like Through Being Cool and Stay What You Are. Those really, he's really doing some good cool stuff with the bass. If you're ever interested in that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for new music now. Check that out for sure.
Yeah, the Through Being Cool albums like their best one. But if you listen to like You Vandal and a lot of the songs, he's always some cool stuff with the bass in the background. It's actually pretty intense for a pop punk song. That is.
Yeah, and something that's
theme song.
Yeah, and something that's like a little more subdued is the song "Playmate of the Year," by Zebrahead. Like it's got the part like in the verse where it's just the bass playing, but then during the chorus, the bass is kind of following the guitar a little bit. But if you like listen really closely, like towards the end of the chorus riff, like the bass kind of goes off and it's like do 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 do. Like it's really subdued, but it's like something that the guitar isn't doing that just kind of adds another like layer to the song overall.
Yeah, it just kind of spices it up a bit. Like I don't know, like it just yeah. But like I said, it really just has given me like an overall better perspective on like not only playing but songwriting for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cause like I kind of did like what you were saying, right? Like when I was like just kind of looking around for bands, like I would my like overall package that I would sell to people was I could sing and I could play bass, so I could do both if you need me to. And that's about the time because like I am not a great guitarist. I'll admit that right now. That was why I was playing bass is because I wasn't great at guitar, but I was decent enough. But like so that's why I was just kind of like playing bass. And then when I was like learning the bass, that's kind of about the time I started noticing like all like the crazy like bass stuff that people do in songs. Like like in like in rock and a lot of times like in metal too, like it does kind of just follow the guitar, but there's so much crazy stuff you can do with the bass. It's insane.
Yeah, like it really does add a whole nother dynamic to the sound.
Yeah.
And it's an important piece. Like I know you guys mentioned it earlier. Like when you're when you're a teenager, like you're like if you have a bass and a bass amp, like you're untouchable. And I mean, even nowadays, I mean, it's hard to find somebody that's like really a quality bassist and somebody that's not just like, hey, I'm a guitar player, so I'm going to pick up a bass because I know the same notes and I can play this, you know. But it's hard to find somebody that like really plays the bass.
Yeah, I agree. And Rock Band definitely doesn't do the bass justice too, because like the bass tracks in Rock Band are so boring.
Dude, you want a video? I tell you what, if you want like what really does learning music justice, Rocksmith, man. Like, I was playing that with my friend Sean, who just started. He just bought a 5-string bass. He's just he's just starting out learning bass, and he's been playing for a month and a half. And we were playing Rocksmith together, and like he's playing songs that take some people years, and it's cool because it really does. It gives you lessons. I mean, it teaches you. It breaks down like different techniques. It's fun, man. It's cool.
And it's funny that you mentioned Rocksmith, because Rocksmith is actually how I was able to play guitar in the first place. It's
a cool tool to use. I mean, like I was playing it and I was learning stuff like, just I brought my, I have my guitar. I brought my Les Paul over and I was playing with him, and like I was like, wow, like I really have a lot to learn still. And I've been playing guitar for 12, 13 years. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's insane. Like after a few days, like I was like writing like pop punk songs, so like nothing crazy. Like I'm not gonna get on the guitar and just start riffing some Slayer, but like in a couple days I was able to like write a song, write a riff. It's not gonna be anything too crazy, but it's gonna be enough that it can sound good to some people.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, but yeah, I know you mentioned, because you'd mentioned video games, that kind of popped in my head. Like, that's a good tool. It's a really cool tool, and it's cool because it reaches a whole nother audience. Where like, if you're a gamer and you want to be a musician, it's tailored for you. It's gonna work with you, and it's on a system, that you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with, and it really works with you. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like anybody that follows the podcast, you guys know I love Rock Band. Rock Band is one of my all-time favorite games. At the end of the day, though, it is still just a video game. You're just kind of playing like colored buttons to the rhythm of.
I suck at that game. And Guitar Hero, I suck at both of them. And I mean, like I said, I've been playing guitar and bass for years, and I suck at both.
Oh yeah, no, it's difficult because it's so different from the real thing. The only The only thing in that like is real is the singing, because like that's literally like you're literally singing. The drums, I would definitely say the drums in Rock Band have helped me a little bit, like with keeping rhythm and stuff. Like I can't just get on the set and go like. I mean, I probably could, but it wouldn't sound good.
It has some elements of this, similarity, but other than singing,
with guitar, totally the guitar is. Yeah, it's buttons. It's a clear video game. But like with Rocksmith, like it really is like a tool. It is a tool that people can use if they want to get better at guitar.
Yeah, it's a real learning tool.
Yeah, I respect the hell out of it, and they have a lot of good songs on there too. Like I remember I bought like a Newfound Glory pack.
Oh, dude, it was fun. We were playing anything. When we were playing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was playing like Alice in Chains. I was playing The Doors. I was playing Boston. I was playing all kinds of cool stuff on there.
Yeah, and I know they got Def Leppard in there.
Yeah.
And I remember they didn't call it a Tony Hawk pack, probably because licensing issues, but they had Skate track pack or something, like Skate Punk track pack or something like that. And it was like Superman by Goldfinger,
the old Tony Hawk,
May 16th by Lagwagon.
Lagwagon, dude.
I think it had Power Man 5000 in it, but I can't remember. Like basically all like the songs from Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it's cool to talk to people that still appreciate like cool skate punk, man. Like Lagwagon, those guys are still doing it, man. They still sound the same, and it's awesome. Like I love it.
Yeah, May 16th is a great fucking song. I was saying last week, like skate punk isn't like 100% my thing, but there are definitely like skate punk bands that I really like. Like I can't call myself a Lagwagon fan, but I do like May 16th. Right. Millencolin has a few good songs.
Yeah.
And then probably my favorite in like the whole like skate punk genre would probably be MXPX.
Okay.
I do. Fair. I love MXPX. Like, they're probably the exception to the rule. Is like, even though I'm not super into skate punk, I would definitely call myself an MXPX fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, skate punk for me it just really registered with me because like a lot of it's very fast and it's almost got like a harder edge to it where it really bridged that gap for me with like metal and that bridge like and like getting into more like pop punks type stuff. And then like you said, like growing up playing Tony Hawk on PlayStation, like that opened my ears to bands like the Vandals and like Goldfinger and all those kind of bands that like I would have never have discovered, especially like I said before, like my parents being mostly like 80s metalheads and like I would have never really discovered that kind of stuff. And now I have this whole new avenue of music that I grew up with that's like my thing.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people like Tony Hawk is what got me into like like skate punk and pop punk, and then Rock Band's probably what got me into like metalcore and like like the heavier stuff like that.
Yeah, right on, man. That's awesome.
So, yeah, no, it's crazy. Like what video games. Like I know like a lot of racing games had like really good soundtracks.
Yeah,
back
Madden,
in the day.
NHL games. They
all
like
Burnout 3 is still probably like the best for cool. for soundtracks.
Like it's cool. Like it's really our generation's. It was like our generation's way of like introducing like all these different styles of music. And now, like I said before, we're like now you can with streaming and everything's digital. You can find anything you want. You can listen to anything. There's some crazy obscure genres out there now.
Yeah, I know. I remember me and Ed were actually talking about this. I don't think we were talking about it on the podcast. I think we were just like talking about it like just to each other. Is streaming kind of killed like the compilation album. Like like how like a lot of bands will come out with like they'll come out with a lot of like B-side albums or like rare albums.
Yeah, I mean, and now you just throw it up on your Spotify and you throw it up on your YouTube page. It's like there's no reason to put that out. I mean, think about it. It kind of killed the album.
It really did.
The album, like the song "Video Killed the Radio Star." It's like not a joke.
Yeah, Spotify.
It's like actually
Spotify killed the album.
Yeah, like if you think about it, I mean that it's the truth. Like, I mean both bands I'm in now, like we don't even have physical copies of our albums because it's like we'll have to give them away.
Yeah, and
we'd rather put that money into making music videos. Or even just like selling T-shirts and other merch stuff. Like, we don't even bother with that anymore. And it's a shame because, I mean, as someone who's kind of old-fashioned in the way that like I like to still go to record stores and buy vinyl. I do have like a pretty not extensive, but I have a decent-sized vinyl collection, and like I still enjoy the feeling of physical media and like reading liner notes and like checking out like photos. It's fun, like it's cool. But I
agree.
But and it's great. But like, I still understand that like the way to make it now is to focus everything on the digital world, and nowadays in 2020, I mean, you don't even need a record label. You can be self-made, self-produced, and really have your come up and not have other people in your pockets. And we were actually talking about this last night on our show. Similar topic where like you can nowadays you can make a music video for $500. Even 20 years ago, thousands of dollars to make these sets and to have these actors come on for these music videos, and like it's crazy now. Like you can really have some quality stuff out, and it's all accessible.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a trade-off almost, because like on the one hand, it's so much easier to put your music out there these days, and I it's a good thing. I don't want there to be any like negative connotation. I'm fine with streaming taking over.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great avenue.
It's absolutely really, you don't need record labels. You just need yourself. If you want to start a band, friends that are on the same page as you. Somewhere to record, and then just like DistroKid or a service like that just to put your stuff out there.
Use DistroKid. I know both bands I'm in, we use DistroKid, and it's fantastic. Like it really, I mean, $20 a year, you can put as many songs up as you want. You could,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Like, and it's yours. I mean, like you don't have these labels in your pockets, trying to get your rights to your music, telling you what to do from a producer standpoint. You can really put out something that you're proud of, and it's your thing, and
Exactly.
I got a few
Exactly.
things to say, I guess, real quick about the whole kind of streaming and stuff like that.
Go ahead.
Uh, just have to do a little response when somebody says, you don't have to worry about the record label telling you what to put up. But if somebody's promised me a lot of money, man, I'll sell that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, if a record label comes to us with a nice offer and we review it and it's good, like I'm absolutely down to be signed. And listen, I have no problem being a one-hit wonder, man. Like
And neither
people
do
make
I.
people make fun of that, and I think it's crazy because it's like they had a hit. This
Yeah.
This person's known forever for this. Like this is their art is now like part of music history. Like I have
Yeah.
no problem with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Bowling for Soup, right? Like, I mean, I guess they were more like a 2 or 3 hit wonder because they had
they have a few, but
they had like Girl All the Bad Guys Want, 1985, High School Never Ends, but
yeah, like 1985, I feel like it's their big one.
That's definitely their big one, yeah.
Right, yeah. Right.
But like, regardless, their last like
or
hit,
a band like Lit, like My Worst Enemy, like that. It's a great song, but like
we have some opinions on Lit.
Yeah,
but well, because
bad choice for a reference, but
no, it's
songs. No, but I just think his Lit has like great songs, but like a lot of their deep cuts are like post grunge, and they're pretty terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, but the point was like that one hit they have is massive. And
yeah, no, absolutely.
I would have no issue being that band, like
or that Flagpole Sitta song by Harvey Danger.
Yeah, like I'd have no problem with that. That'd be awesome.
You know what? I'm actually glad you brought up Lit because you know what? Like, yeah, people can kind of like meme on them for going country, but like they can do that, and because My Own Worst Enemy was such a big song, they're probably still getting royalties from that song. So they can afford to take a gamble and go country.
Yeah, and it's just cool because it kind of really opens the door for you to do what you want.
Yeah, like and it worked out for them. I'm pretty sure the song Fast was like #1 on CMT for a little bit. But even if it bombed, like that's really like no sweat off their backs because they still got that My Own Worst Enemy check coming in next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I'd be fine with that. Yeah, like again, like I was saying with Bowling for Soup, right? Like their last big hit was probably like 2006, High School Never Ends. But I mean, they're still hanging in. They're still making albums on like a 2 to 3 year basis. So clearly,
we saw the work for it. That was great.
Clearly, they have the money to do it, and they probably have it from again like that the 1985 royalties, the High School Never Ends checks coming in. So yeah, at the end of the day, like one hit wonder really isn't so bad. Everybody likes to like meme on the one hit wonders for just making a song and dipping, but like, yeah, I'd rather have one hit than no hits.
Rather be a has been than a never been.
Yeah. I actually just recently watched a video. Rick Astley covered the Foo Fighters acoustically, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing. It was amazing.
And he can afford to do that because Never Gonna Give You Up is still to this day popular.
Yeah, I mean, even with the meme aside, like it was a huge hit.
Yeah, it's a huge hit, and then the meme made it relevant again. So
yeah, I mean, and it made it relevant for this generation.
Yeah,
like
so
people memed on it, and then it became like, oh wow, this song's actually pretty catchy.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna check this guy out. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like it's funny because it's like, oh, you got Rickroll, but like it's actually a good song. Like it's cheesy '80s pop,
and that's absolutely fine with me, man.
No, I always joke. I'm like way more on the pop side than the punk side. So like, you give me a cheesy '80s pop song, I'm gonna get hype.
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the movies I watch are full of them. So I hear you.
Yeah, see, I and again, anybody that follows the podcast, they know I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. So my movies are usually filled with '80s rock, the '80s dad rock. But yeah, no, like
That always makes me think of the scene. Was it Billy Madison where he's stumbling with the keg and there's like sticks playing in the background?
Yeah, Renegade.
Renegade, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, which I think Styx is actually like his all-time favorite band. I remember
Yeah,
reading.
yeah. Well, he made that joke, and I think with Big Daddy, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he put that in the movie because it's legitimately
Yeah.
his favorite band.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing "That's My Boy" in the movies, and the first 5 seconds of the movie, like as the opening
Oh,
titles
the
are
whole
coming
movie is
on,
like Van Halen, right?
it's just like the first 5 seconds is Def Leppard, Rock of Ages. That
Yeah.
that makes me hype because, like I said, I do enjoy the '80s hair metal. So
I'm with you,
that
man.
so
Absolutely.
that was cool to say. Um, but anyway, yeah. So before we get out of here, I just wanted to ask you, Mario, because like again, like we know, you are just as much a metal guy as you are a pop punk guy.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite bands? And they could be your like all-time favorite bands, and then we can like separate them by genre too if you'd like. But let's start out just with your all-time favorite
Okay.
bands.
All-time favorite? Oh, man, it always fluctuates because, like, all right. So my first concert was Van Halen, and they were always my favorite. I mean, to this day, I would still say they're definitely in my top three, if not first. Metallica too. Same thing with those guys. I've seen them 3 times, and they've always been in my top. But man, wow. Um, I was always a huge Iron Maiden fan, Judas Priest, Kiss. But then for more of like the more modern stuff, um, I mean, I guess in pop punk terms, obviously huge Blink fan. Love like a lot of old Green Day. And then like on the metal side, I guess the more modern stuff. Wow. Definitely a huge. I was always a huge Killswitch Engage fan.
Okay.
Huge Lamb of God fan. Um, and then, I mean, I would say like that's probably the crux of my like. If I had to put a playlist together of like music that, if you put me on an island with these albums, I can only listen to this ever again. Um, those would probably be my ones right there, for sure.
Gotcha. That's pretty respectable. I actually think like with streaming, I feel like I don't have favorite bands anymore. And I know I
Yeah,
talked
I'm with
about
you, man.
this.
It's funny you say that. Like, it's so true. Like,
Yeah.
it's so yeah.
And
Like,
I know I talked about this before on the podcast, but like, yeah, because like I have favorite songs now because I don't listen to like bands like I used to. Like, I'll listen to songs that show up in my Discover Weekly, and then I'll really like it. But then I
yeah,
can't really consider the band my favorite because I only know that song. Like, Just Surrender is a good example of that because there's 3 songs that they made that I absolutely love. I know one of them's called "Forgiven, Not Forgotten." Another one is "She Broke My Heart, So I Broke His Jaw," and then there's a third one that I can't remember its name right now.
I Can Barely Breathe or Artwork
That
of Art.
that's it. I Can Barely Breathe, and they're 3 very good songs, but I can't put "Just Surrender" in like my top 5 even, just because
yeah,
those are the only 3 songs I know by them.
yeah.
Even
I mean,
last thing I Can Barely Breathe at work.
yeah. I'm kind of in that boat too, where like I'm almost like not even listening to full albums anymore, like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like playlists and like, I know earlier in the show I mentioned Belmont, like, I can't sit here and say like, oh, they're one of my new favorite bands because like, I mean, I like the song Overstepping. I like the song Pushing Daisies. Like, they have some great material, but like, I can't sit here and say like, they're my favorite. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, like, so those bands I listed earlier are like my favorite. Like, if you had to like really ask like what got you into music, period, it's those bands for sure. And then obviously, like every kid starts out like with like AC/DC and like Led Zeppelin and like stuff like that and Black Sabbath
Uh huh.
and then you kind of go from there. But it's like at the end of the day, I mean that's me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these other bands that I've discovered since then are kind of offshoots of discovering those bands at a young age, falling in love with those bands, and then finding other bands in similar genres, and then going from there. And now I have this like amazing collection of music of like all different types of genres. But like you said, it's like it's more of like curating a Spotify playlist than it is like playing an album front to back, then playing another album front to back.
Yeah, I agree. I think the closest thing I have now to like a new favorite band from like the Spotify era probably would be Better Luck Next Time. Because like I knew Better Luck Next Time for a while. The song Tell Me has always been one of my favorites. But like, yeah, I kind of like really got into them through Spotify, and I like all four of their albums. They're all 4 albums worth of bangers. But yeah, even still, like I don't listen to like every single song from their albums. I'll listen to like my favorites, which they do. They admittedly have a lot of really good songs, but yeah, I'm not listening to every single album front to back like I did in what I'll call the iPod era. This is when before I had Spotify and I was just listening to my iPod all the time.
Yeah.
Because the music on my iPod was the only music I had. So I would listen to albums because like I would have to spend money on it. So I would listen to the albums front to back because I want to get my $10 worth.
Right, and it's funny because like you would think now with like streaming you would do the opposite, where like you would check out more deep cuts because it's like, hey, I'm paying for the streaming service, I'm not paying for this album. Say like you said with iTunes, I can check out these deep cuts because they're not costing me money. And normally I would skip this song on my playlist on my iPod, but now I can go back and play it because it's, it comes with the streaming service I have. So you would think it would work the opposite way, but yeah, it's weird. Like you almost like take, because, and I feel like too with a lot of bands nowadays, the focus is definitely less on LPs and more on like EPs and singles, where that kind of also influences that, where like, you're not getting 10, 12 track albums necessarily from some of these bands. You're getting 5, 6 song EPs. You're getting a single with a music video, that kind of thing. Like, so that also makes you like, you check this, you found this band's music video on YouTube and you're like, wow, it's cool. I'm going to look that up on Spotify and add it to my playlist. Well, unless you go and dive into that band's, like the rest of their catalog, you're not really going to know anything else. So you're going to like that song, but you can't sit there and say like, this is my favorite, my new favorite band ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely did notice, singles seem to be the way to go. I noticed a lot of emo rappers are doing it, and a lot of like bands are doing it too. Like every time I see just one of those like local pop punk bands that make their way into my Discover Weekly.
Yeah, I mean we did it. Like we put a 5-song EP out, and 3 of the tracks were really released before before the actual full EP was out on Spotify. We did a lyric video for 2 of the songs. We did a music video for 1 of the songs, and because we looked at it like, especially now with COVID and not playing shows, like what can we do to stay fresh? Keep people's attention while we're preparing for this release. And it's definitely the way to go nowadays, doing videos and stuff.
Exactly. And I was watching, because I watch a lot of punk rock NBA. And I remember he was saying like
me too, man. I like him.
Yeah,
I watch his channel too.
Yeah, I love his videos.
He is so much, like he talks about like everything, like every genre of music I listen to, he talks about. It's great.
Yeah, and I like, because even though he talks about like metal and like punk and stuff, he doesn't have that like small closed-minded mindset, right? Like he's always talking about like bands being financially responsible, becoming more accessible and everything, which like in the scene you'll get crucified for it, but he looks at it like as a business perspective, and if it's a smart business move, he'll like respect it.
Yeah, and I know I always watch his channel because he's always giving advice to up and coming bands, like how to run your band like a business, and like he'll make videos like what killed this genre, what killed that genre, and a lot of it's like lack of promotion, like you mentioned before, like these different scenes with, he calls them gatekeepers, like people that are like, oh, that's not punk, I'm not going to listen to that, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. And like that's the easiest way to kill a scene, where like you want to, especially locally. I mean, think about it, when you're a local artist, you're already behind the 8 ball because you're local. I mean, you don't have a record label backing you, you don't have the exposure these bands have, you don't have the audience these bands have yet, so you have to build that from scratch. And like the key to doing that is building your band like a brand. And like it's like, you're right, like you talk to some people about that and they crucify you for it because they're like, oh, like stop being such a sellout and just worry about your music. Well, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
like I can write an amazing album, but if nobody hears it and nobody, if I'm
Remembers
not putting
you.
out, yeah, if I'm not putting out content that's memorable, no one's gonna care. You
Exactly.
know, you have
That's
to
a
do
problem
both.
with this.
Yeah,
I say
and
that's the
that's
problem with the Spotify era is because there's so much oversaturation now because you have all this
absolutely,
music to listen to. So
Exactly.
somebody may
Yep.
love your music, but they don't like truly remember it. They're just gonna be another. You're just gonna be like, oh, I heard that song like a month ago, but like it didn't bring it back. Like that's the most important thing to with any sort of artist. Can you
yeah,
get people to come back to it?
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was gonna say earlier, but I think I got sidetracked. Is that's the trade off? Is it's so much easier to get your music out there now, but it's so much harder to get noticed because since it's easier, more people are putting their stuff out
Oversaturated.
there.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean,
Yeah.
like for us with Win by Two, we that was like the crux of like our whole like plan for the summer was like, we're putting out this EP. How do we make it where people, especially because like Win by Two as a band has been around for maybe 10 or so years, but John moved to California for a while, and Alex was doing his own thing, and Nick was doing his own thing, and then they, eventually he moved back, and they all got back together, and then they met me and everything. So it was like, how do we get not only the older people that remember their old stuff, how do we get them back on board, and then for the people that this is a totally new band, how do we get those people to check it out when there's, like you said, there's an oversaturation of local music, and it's just hard because like you want to stay fresh and you want to come up with ways to come up with creative content. And that was the whole thing. Like we made sure we put out we put out the money for videos. We made sure we found a guy that could do music, like lyric videos. Like we wanted to make sure that there was a visual media behind it, not just throwing it on Spotify.
Yeah, I think that's very important too. Is yeah, you need a you need more than just your music if you want to
Yeah,
become memorable. And I remember I'm always telling Ed like that, like yo, putting out good music, like that's key. Like if you don't have good music, then you're not gonna go anywhere.
yeah.
But
I mean, of course it's important to put good music out, but like you said, you have to have something behind it where it's like, you know, you have to give a visual element to it.
yeah, and going back to the whole like sellout thing is yeah, it just seems like if you try to like build like a brand, people see it as like, oh, he don't care about the music, he only cares about the money. And like, I mean, all right, like, yeah, to some extent, yeah, I do care about the money, but like,
Sure, I mean,
Why
more
do I go to work every day?
yeah, like
exactly.
why
I care about
that's my
bosses.
thing. Yeah, like why would you do it if you're not trying to build a brand? Why would you
Yeah,
like why
yeah,
do it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
and it's
of course
this,
of course you want to write great music and like you want to
yeah,
put that out there for people, but like you got to have a name behind. You got to have a brand behind that name. You know what I mean? You got to build an
yeah,
audience. You got to
exactly.
have yeah.
It's not even like 100% about the money. It's just more the bigger of like you want to be successful, right? Like,
Sure. I mean, yeah. I
if your
mean,
goal isn't to be successful, like, why are you even trying?
yeah. Like, why? Yeah. What's the point? And it's
Yeah,
true. Like, you know, it's important to like really, as a local band, like connect with people, like in your scene, meet people who are videographers, meet people who do, you know, who do lyric videos, meet people who do photo shoots, meet people who, have studios you can record in and like you can promote their studio. Like, you know what I mean? It's important to
Yeah,
grow the scene that way. Like, yeah.
I agree 100%. And I think if more people like embraced, like, I guess what most people would call selling out, I think if more people embraced it, then the scene would be like a lot bigger than it is because it would be more accessible.
profitable.
Yeah,
Yeah, like my
you,
argument's always like, what's selling out? Selling out venues, selling your album. Like, what? That's a good thing, isn't it?
yeah, right? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, and like I think I talked about this early like, a couple weeks ago. Was like when you're like quote unquote selling out or like changing your sound. It's like you gotta do like a a fine balance between making something new and fresh to keep people interested, but you don't want to alienate that into old fan base by
Sure. Yeah.
changing genres
Yeah,
completely. I don't know
Yeah.
why that's going in my head. I feel like that was completely off topic, but
Yeah. I
still.
mean, like, I'm never gonna like. I'm not sitting here saying like I'm gonna go write a country song for Acrolein or Win by Two. Absolutely, you know what I mean. But like, but yeah, I mean, trying something different isn't necessarily always a bad thing.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I
I feel
agree,
like
and like,
people say that's selling out in music when you change your sound, but it's just to keep things fresh. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
like honestly, because I remember we were talking about this before, and I know I'm probably rehashing it again on this episode, but like just to get like Mario's take on it, like with the starting line, uh, I always talk about like with hopes of starting over and say it like you mean it being two amazing pop punk albums. And then after that, they kind of tapered off because they got like weird experimental, like alternative-y type music. But like, if they kept doing say it like you mean it, like every single album, it would kind of diminish say it like you mean it a little bit. Because then it's like, okay, I mean, I have 6 albums of this now.
Yeah.
So like when a band does quote unquote sell out, like I mean, if they kept doing the same music that got them popular in 2003, is it even going to be that good? Cuz like you have their album from 2003. I know I'm not talking about the starting line right now. I'm just talking about in general. Like you
Yeah,
have the album from 2003. Like you can listen to that and then if they get a little poppy, they get a little poppy. They're keeping
and
things fresh. I respect that.
it's like, but I always say because like with the two Alistair albums that came out after they got back together, it's like it's fine, it's good pop punk, but it's like I Stop Suburbia is like so much better and it already exists. So why would I ever go back to that album once that new album hype wears off? You know?
Yeah, and like with Better Luck Next Time, right? We talk about how it's super sad that they only have 4 albums, and then they kind of like not really are broken up, but their last album was in 2013, and I think the last show they played was 2018, so they're kind of broken up. But if they kept putting out like that same sound like over and over and over for like 8 more albums, right? Like it would kind of get old. I mean, I would love to still see them doing things, but
Hmm.
at the same time, like yeah, if they're putting out Shoebox Memories over and over and over again, or whatever that album was called, I can't remember the name of the album. Third Time's a Charm, I think.
I want to say
Um,
that sounds about right.
but if they just keep put that album out over and over and over, which they kind of were, like there was little elements. Like I remember the first 2 albums had a synth player, and the last 2
Mm,
didn't. But other than that, they did all sound pretty similar. If they just
yeah,
kept
there's
doing
no real.
that over and over and over, like it would get kind of old, and it would diminish the 4 albums that they do already have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. That's how I feel about the newest Newfound album. It's like it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's a very good album, but it's like, what's the point of it?
Yeah, exactly. Like at least makes me sick. Like that was so dead. Like it was power pop almost. So like,
And Resurrection was like heavy
yeah,
for them,
yeah,
but
it,
like
it was like borderline easy core.
yes, but it's just like I'm listening. I'm like, this is fine, but I mean, I'd rather just listen to Sticks and Stones or the self-titled album.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I said before with Bowling for Soup, like they mix it up between like more serious and more goofy, but the overall sound has been pretty much the same since like 2002.
Yeah, so it's like if they come out with a new album, it's like neat, but I'd rather just listen to a Hangover You Don't Deserve, or that was called.
Yeah, yeah. Hangover You Don't Deserve, Drunk Enough to Dance is probably my personal favorite.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's like, what's the point of listening to it? We can just listen to that, and
yeah,
it's better, you know?
exactly. Exactly. And so I agree. Like Safe is fine. I remember I was actually rewatching one of my old album reviews that I did on the Def Leppard album, and how like in 2002 they did like that like weird pop album that I actually really like, because like I said, I like poppy music and I wish it made more waves. And honestly, I think Playing It Safe is what got them nowhere, because of all the songs on the album they could have picked as a lead single, including the one written by Max Martin, which, for those that are listening that might not know, Max Martin has written pretty much. Hi. Wait. But Max Martin has written pretty much every hit song since 1997.
Yeah, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, even Bon Jovi.
Yeah, and he wrote a song off that X album. Like, and then they picked the safest song they could possibly pick, because I guess they didn't want to go down the route of alienating too many people. But honestly, I feel like they missed a big opportunity by playing it safe. Because I feel like if they picked a different lead single, that album would have made some waves. Because it was pretty early 2000s sounding, which that might sound a little dated by today's standards, but when it came out, like, it was fresh, especially for Def Leppard.
Yeah, because they're gonna just cut out a grunge album prior.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that grunge album was kind of eh. But yeah, no, that 2002 X album is amazing. And yeah. So before we close out, does anybody have any last closing remarks?
I guess I just want to say, because, like, I remember Mr. Mario talk about how he likes physical media, and as you know me, I do love physical media too. Like, I still go on my way to get a physical copy of something, just because I feel like you have the physical copy, like, you see the other half of what the band was trying to portray. It gives you, like, some sort of visual art. I like reading the linear notes. I like seeing the pictures, the drawings. I feel like it kind of gives you more of a perspective of, like, the vibe of the album. And I also enjoy, like, I feel like also streaming has, like, also killed, like, an album, because I feel like track listens back, like, track orders. Okay, I
Track
speech
listing?
problems. Yeah, that's it. Speech problems. Yeah. But I feel like the streaming has really kind of killed the art of, like, setting, like, the perfect track in order, like saying this is gonna be a great opener, this is gonna be a great, like, kind of filler song, this is a great epic closing song. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you lose that art of writing a cohesive, like, full album that really flows well and kind of tells, like, almost like a story musically and stuff like that.
Like a concept album?
To an extent, but I always try to find, like, concepts and stories that didn't actually exist with albums when I used to listen to them. So I feel like streaming has really kind of killed, like, the art of writing a banging opening track or a banging closer. You know what I mean? Like, it's mostly just kind of write your best songs, throw them in whatever order, and people are gonna stream one or two, and that's life.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and what I was saying earlier before I got sidetracked again, like what Punk Rock NBA says is because the reason a lot of people do singles now is, like, with the age of Spotify, it's just it's a safer bet, and I don't mean safe in the way of, like, Newfound putting out Sticks and Stones again. It's safe in the sense that, like, you don't have to count all your chickens before they hatch in a single album. You can put, like, one song out and then put another song out next month and then keep doing that over putting a whole 12-track album out once. And then if people don't like that, like, that's all you have for another, like, 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get that. And I get that, I get that mindset. And I think the way to go, if you really like albums and you just enjoy consuming your music in album form, then the way to go would probably be to put singles out every month, and then when you have a collection of, like, 11 or 12 of them, just put out, like, I guess just put them in, like, album form of just those, like,
Yes.
12 singles.
Anything you want to say, Mr. Mario?
No, that's actually a good point. Like, I feel like I've seen bands actually do that now, where, like, they'll just, instead of, hey, we're doing, we're going to record for a year and we're going to put an album out next year. They're just, especially on the local level, I mean, they're just doing, like, single, and it's like, well, why don't you just, like you said, why don't, you can just put them out whenever, whenever you feel like it, and then kind of just put them, say, on Spotify in an album form. It's a good idea because with the way people are today, with their attention span being so small, like, sometimes going on going online and searching for things and looking for the next best thing and like the new thing, and like it keeps you fresh. It gives you something consistent to put out. It's definitely not a bad way to look at it, and maybe not a bad thing to try.
Yeah, and I would respect anybody that does that, because it's kind of like it's the best of both worlds. You can put out an entire album for the people that like it that way. Because I'll admit, like I used to love those collections of like rarities, B-sides, like Japan only bonus tracks.
You get some great music that you may have never heard before on there.
But then you can also put them out as singles, like month to month. That way, if maybe like you put out a song that doesn't bang as hard, then
try again on the next one. Yeah,
you only gotta wait like another month. Exactly. And then maybe the next song you put out will be the song that strikes fire.
Yeah, and definitely in the streaming age, I feel like that, and in the digital age, with like I said before, like with putting out music videos and lyric videos, you could do that now, and you can almost make it its own entity, its own package, where it's like you put the song out, it's on Spotify, you have a music video on YouTube, you're sharing it to your Facebook and your Instagram, you're promoting all these different channels that this song is going through, that it's reaching a much wider audience.
Yeah, and that's actually another thing that I remember Punk Rock NBA was talking about, was like with social media, as one thing is I know a lot of bands definitely need to like step up their social media game, because I know in a lot of cases it's just like pictures from like tours and like promotion
or the stereotypical local band, the big things coming post.
Yeah, and
and then a year later nothing happens. Yeah. No, it's true, because like I know, I mean, we've been trying to get a little better with it with Acrolein. We've been kind of slacking with that, but Win by 2, I mean, we're posting content pretty frequently, and it's starting to, and like even like early on when we first started, and like starting out, you'll boost posts to kind of push them to a little bit of a more broader audience. But now it's like even those posts that they're growing organically, and people are checking the stuff out, and they're commenting on the videos on YouTube. We're getting a lot of likes, we're getting a lot of clicks. Like even with me and John doing the podcast that we've been doing in the paint, like people are seeing that on the channel, and they're like, oh, like these guys have other media that they do. Like, wow, like I'm gonna check their stuff out, and like it's important. Like it's like you said before, it's a brand. Like, you really have to grow it like it's a brand.
Yeah, and I would actually say like this podcast is a part of the bigger like Knockout Kings brand.
Yeah,
because this can help like kind of like build that audience, and then when we get to recording and stuff, hey, and then if you guys like the podcast, check out our music and something like that.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
And because that's one thing, like as a streamer. Like I use social media pretty often, and like I see lots of streamers just post like just when they're going live, like, hey, I'm going live, blah blah blah, and then they just post a link to their like Twitch account, and like nobody on Twitter, like if that's all you post, like it's like, dude, why should I come check you out?
And Twitter is hard because, like, I mean, I can personally admit myself, like we don't really focus in either project. We don't really focus on Twitter just because it doesn't really suit what we're trying. Like, the audience we're trying to reach.
Yeah, I'm not saying Twitter's the end all be all. I was just using that as an example.
No, yeah, absolutely. I understand what you're saying. Definitely. But it's hard, like you said. It's hard to, because Twitter, it's really a tweet, maybe a photo, or maybe a clip, and you're just like, hey, I'm going to be streaming. Check this out, and it's like, if people are scrolling through their news feed and they see a link, well, they might click it. You don't know. Like but if you have like Instagram, it's like, here's a clip of like, whatever, or here's a photo with, and then hey, link in bio. It's like, oh, cool. Like these guys have like visual content that I can see what they're about first, and then I can make the judgment myself whether or not I want to click that link.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're really like you're selling yourself to people whenever you put out content.
That's the name of the game, man. You're selling yourself like a brand.
Yeah, because like I said, on the streaming side of things, right? Like if I'm just posting links that just say going live and then like a little link to my Twitch channel, like why would somebody click on that? Because they don't know me, they know nothing about me. All they know is I'm going live. Big whoop. 2.2 million other people are doing that.
Exactly, man. And a big mistake. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just saying, like, it's even bigger in the music world because more people are making music probably than people are streaming. So it's like, you put out an album, cool. Why should I listen to it over the other like millions of artists out there that are making music?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's like, I mean, the worst thing that a band can do, and this has happened to me before, I've gotten these messages where bands will, DM you, hey, check out my album. It's like, no, I'm not even going to click this because you didn't even try to build a personal connection with me as a fan. You're just throwing music at me when, like you said, there's millions of other bands putting music out there. What makes you any different? Like, you're not selling yourself. You're telling me to look like you're telling me to look at your product. You're not selling me your product.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's it. You get that a lot in the streamer world too. You'll get people like DMing, being like, "Yo, it'd be cool if you could come check my link out." And like, on the one hand, like they don't mean anything like bad about it, but it's like,
listen, like when I say this, like when I say I ignore those messages, I don't mean that to be like a dick or to be a dick or anything.
No, I get you.
Like, like when I genuinely will have like I had a friend of mine, his band put an album out, and he had a full-on conversation with me about what they were up to and how he was doing and how I was doing, and then sent me the link. And that was like, that's all I could ask for. It's like you built a connection with me, and like sending me a link, especially if it's like I don't even know you, especially if it's a band. Like if it's a band that I know the guys in the band. Yeah, fine. If a good friend of mine, their band throws me a link, all right, I'll check it out. But like, if I don't even know you and you're just sending me a DM with a link and saying watch this video or like, hey, we just dropped this album, check it out. It's like, okay, what makes this so special compared to everything else? Sell it to me. Like, give me your story. I want to know like what makes this a product worth checking out.
Exactly. Like the way I'm looking at it, every 3 minutes I'm listening to your music is 3 minutes I could be listening to Rock Me Amadeus. So this better be damn good if I'm not listening to Rock Me Amadeus.
Every 3 minutes listening to your song is 3 minutes I could be doing whatever the hell else. I could be, you know what I mean? It's true. And like, yeah, it just comes down to having a good plan as far as promotion, being fresh and creative, and obviously putting out great music helps. I mean, that's important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like with Win by Two, I mean, we're working on a merch line right now that should be out soon. Like I said, we post content pretty frequently, and we talk about it a lot on our podcast show In the Paint. And yeah, I mean, we're constantly trying to come up with new ways to expand our our content building for the band, expand our content for the coming up with new ideas for other type of streaming shows or like podcast type shows. You know what I mean? Like we're always coming up with new ideas, and like it's just it's the only way to survive when there's this oversaturation of entertainment in general, not even just music, just entertainment in general, and it's all right at your fingertips. I mean, a phone is a computer that you hold in your hand.
Yeah, it's just it's really all of a matter of putting the work in and then standing out.
Yeah, really. I mean,
and standing out doesn't always mean like going out there with like the Kiss makeup and doing weird shit. It just means having a personality in a sea of other bands like promoting their shit. Like, hey, we got a new single, and then like that's the only shit that they post.
I
mean, that will help you stand out too. Just being friendly, being personal, being funny. Connecting with people on some level.
Yeah, like we just talked to Justin from this band Cheer Up Dusty last night, and he was saying the same thing. Like their Instagram, I mean, not only are they posting about their band, but like they're posting like little comedy skits. They were doing podcasting too. They were doing all these different kind of things to like draw people in, and it draws a lot of people in, like, and it draws people that may not necessarily hell, they may not even really listen to pop punk, and they may be like, oh, I can respect this. This is a good rock song. Like, I'm gonna check this band out because they were funny and they posted like a funny post, or they posted something about, like, I don't know, like something, they made like a pop culture reference or something, and it's like they reeled you in, or like or you're like streaming on Twitch playing video games or something. You know what I mean? And someone saw that, like, it's just whatever you can do to draw the most people in is, the best way you have a chance to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Just it's like standing out, being unique, and again, just in cases like that, like making funny skits, just resonating with people in some like fashion. Because like you could have the best music in the world, and maybe if you just post links, maybe some people might give you a shot, but the majority of people are just gonna like pass on. Like, I don't know these people. I have no connection to these people. Why am I gonna listen to friggin' I don't. I couldn't even. I was trying to think of like a bullshit song name. I couldn't even think of one. I'm terrible on the spot.
But no, I mean, and it's even like with like playing live, like I mean, I would say over the past few years, like live music is hard to promote, like original live, like it's hard to promote original music, like most people playing live, or like most people going to live shows, they want to hear cover bands, they want to hear or they're at a bar and they're not even there for a show, they're just having a beer with their buddies and they happen to hear, I don't know, an AC/DC cover band or something, and they're like, oh shit, like cool, I'm gonna check these guys out. It's hard to like sell, it's already hard as it is to sell original music, so like if you don't have something behind it that gives it some personality, I mean, it's going to fall by the wayside, like, and you're just going to be kind of like lost in obscurity.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? It's actually, since you brought up like bars, I wanted to ask this to you. Because I feel like there's a bit of a trade-off. Because like if you play a venue, people are gonna probably be like more into your music, but the only people that are gonna really be there are like the other bands, their girlfriends, and then maybe some like other people that showed up. But if you're at a bar, like people aren't gonna probably be into your music because they're not there for it. They're just there to get a drink, and there's just live music playing. But I feel like it could potentially expose you to more people because you're playing to people that aren't necessarily there for you. They're just there for a drink.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, I mean, it's like, I mean, me personally, if I play a bar and the bar is packed, but there are people sitting at the bar and they're not paying attention to us on stage because they're not there for a show. We just happen to be the live entertainment for the night.
Yeah.
I'd much rather play to, I'd much rather play to, 10 people in a venue, but they're there for, they're there for a pop punk show. They're there for a metal show.
Yeah, they're there to like jam the hell out.
They're true hardcore kids that are like hanging out at these venues, and like they're gonna go, they're gonna go hard for your music. They're gonna mosh. They're gonna, be up in the front. They're gonna bang their head. They're gonna be like into it. You know what I mean? Like I'd much rather do that because I feel like you have a much better chance of those 10 people going, yo, like, I really liked your stuff. I'm going to show my other friends who like the same music. Or if it's a band, if it's just the band's watching, it's like, hey, like, let's connect. Like, let's play more shows together. Let's, build the scene together. Like, I'd much rather do that just because, like, it's cool to play a packed venue. But, like, if you're playing a packed bar and everybody's sitting at the bar watching, watching a football game on TV rather than paying attention to what you're doing, are you really playing to anybody? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you make a good point. It's just like a bunch of old dudes in their 60s thinking like, yo, where's the fucking Jethro Tull?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like where's my Alice Cooper cover that like play some Led Zeppelin. It's like,
like, sir, we're a pop punk
I'm not
band.
here to play. Yeah, it's like I'm not here to play covers. Like, and like that's why like we'll try to throw. I mean, We did it. We did it with Acrolein early on. We used to play a Suicide Silence cover, and that kind of drew some people in. But like obviously with Win by Two, it's a little easier just because the music's a little more accessible to like a wider listening audience.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. It's a little more like I've noticed like with people like I posted like when we dropped the EP, I was promoting it, and like people that I post music stuff all the time for anything I'm doing, and they would normally ignore every post. They're like, "Wow, this is amazing," and it's like. So we tried to do it with Win by Two, where like we'll throw in covers that people know. We actually have played some like classic rock covers to like be able to like if we're playing like a bar gig where it's like chances are it's not going to be 20 somethings packed in the front. It's going to be people that are hanging at the bar, maybe middle aged people hanging at the bar, and like they want to hear like a classic rock cover. We can play that, and it's like, oh, like, wow, you guys, respected the past, and then like you guys are playing something that maybe isn't my thing, but I can respect it. It's something, or on the other hand, it's like, hey, you just exposed me to something that I never would have listened to before, and now all of a sudden I had this like new genre of music that I like. You guys are playing pop punk. I would have never listened to pop punk. I grew up on like classic rock. This is cool.
Oh yeah, no, like yeah, I definitely think covers played live are a very powerful tool. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing covers live. I like I said with me and Ed, like when Knockout Kings then called Storyline, we would cover like Josie, You Vandal, we covered Anthem, we covered some like Alistair, we covered a bunch of stuff. And
it's
like
it's definitely a good way to reach more people.
Like I said, our cover of Taylor Swift of all music, our cover of Shake It Off got people like up and hype.
Yeah, I mean something like that, especially being a pop song that's like, very well known to people who may not even listen to pop punk at all. That
Oh yeah, no,
you're gonna bring in people that may have never listened to you. That they're now like, wow, they're playing a Taylor Swift song. Like that's more my speed. I can respect what they're doing, and like it just I don't know. It's important to like know your audience and come up with ways to expand on it. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, absolutely, and like you definitely don't want to get into a hole of playing like too many covers. Because I
No,
think if you play too many
absolutely.
covers, yeah, then it's like, well, shit, this is just a cover band. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I try to limit. I know, like we try to limit our set list to like two. Like if we're gonna play covers,
Yeah,
like no more than like two covers. Because
yeah.
again, because the name of the game, you want to get your originals out there. Like why else write them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think covers would be a good way. Because like the last show that me and Ed played, like the band, there was another pop punk band there that were pretty solid, but I can't remember any of their originals. But I do remember they covered 1985. So like
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I remember. That's what everybody's gonna remember.
yeah, I mean, our first show with Win by Two, like coming back from being away for so long, and to most people, it's a new band. Like it's basically us starting over. You know what I mean? And we played "My Friends Over You" by Newfound Glory. We played "Only One" by Yellow Card, and like people loved it. And it was just like, we have the videos from that set, and like we watched it back, and it was just like we could see the progression of our set. Like we hooked them in with the covers, and then like they were like as we played more of our originals, they were like really listening in and like, okay, I'm gonna check these guys out now. They covered some stuff that I like. These guys, they get it.
Yeah, exactly. And like just on the other end, it is nice to see everybody jamming out, even if it is just a cover.
Yeah,
It is
yeah. I
nice
mean,
to
it's
see
fun, man.
everybody
It's
jamming
cool.
out
It's like
because you
it's
played a
something that
song.
everybody knows. They can sing along. I mean, when you're a
Yeah.
local band and not many people know your lyrics, they can sing along with you. They can, they're having fun with it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm
it's
pretty
cool.
sure when we covered Josie, we had everybody like. I'm pretty sure the crowd was saying like singing the parts like "Yeah, my girlfriend," and like the crowd
Yeah,
was like getting
yeah.
into it and shit.
Yeah, man. That's what it's all about. You want to engage your crowd. Like you want to, and being a local band, where people, you know, are just discovering you, or you know, may not know your stuff, you gotta reel them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%. But well, yeah. So I guess that'll just about do it for today.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been fun.
Yo, thank you so much for agreeing to be our very first guest. Please be sure to check him out on Instagram. Be sure to check out Win by Two on YouTube. Does Acrolein have a YouTube?
They do. I mean, we haven't been too active on it just because, you know, we're working on trying to save up to do some music videos, some content to kind of build the channel. But you can check out us on Instagram. It's Acrolein _ NJ, and then Facebook.com/Acrolein NJ. Win by Two. Instagram's at 2_ Win by Two. YouTube is Real Win by Two. And then Facebook.com/Win by Two. Our EP Thoughts Like Anchors dropped, a few weeks ago, and that's out everywhere now on Spotify and wherever you stream music.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry. With Acrolein, like I said, we're eyeing next month for our album. It's called The Human Recondition. We have 3 singles out for that right now, and that hopefully is dropping next month, the whole album.
Yep. And I will of course link all of that in the description. And
cool, man. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much for being a guest. Ed, thank you so much for being an amazing co-host.
I'm alright, I guess, but thanks.
And yeah, we'll catch you guys later. Every Thursday at 3:30 on Twitch, and then every Tuesday at noon on YouTube. Peace.